Well, good evening, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for joining us this evening. We'll be talking about the Jewish approach to immigration a little bit later tonight. So I thought as a theme for our service, the theme of America, to which many of us here have immigrated, either in our own lifetime or in our ancestors' lifetime, is an appropriate theme for the celebration tonight. And I want to thank Catherine and Ellen in advance for the music that they'll be providing. It's always wonderful to be able to sing along with people who know how to sing. And so our service begins with a song, appropriately. It's our adapted version of Shalom Aleichem, which instead of praising angels that are bringing peace, we praise the people who love peace, guard peace, and pursue peace. If you feel comfortable, please join us.
Shalom Aleichem, Yahveh Hashalom, Shomarei Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Ro'etvei Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. Boachem LaShalom, Yahveh Hashalom, Tzeichem LaShalom. Miyom ze layamim habayim, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Yahveh Hashalom, Shomarei Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Ro'etvei Shalom, Shalom Aleichem.
Shabbat is a time of memory and a time of peace. Jews have imagined Shabbat as a time outside of time, an echo of Eden and a hint of heaven. We remember our people's imagination and we add our own. As they recalled paradise, we recall family. As they envisioned redemption, we imagine peace. Shabbat is a time of peace and a time of memory. We begin Shabbat by lighting candles. The flames are symbols of light and inspiration, and their warmth surrounds us with the comforts of home and history. We learn and we celebrate together. To light our Shabbat candles, I'd like to invite our Onikos this evening, Marla and Fred, and Peggy and Bill to come forward as we sing Baruch HaOr, Let Us Light These Lights.
Shabbat, Baruch HaOr, Shalom. Baruch HaOr, Baruch HaOrat Shabbat, Baruch HaShalom. Let us light these lights and see the way to joy, and let us say Simcha. Let us light these lights and see the way to love, and let us say Ahava. Let us light these lights and see the way to peace, and let us say Shalom. Let us light these lights and see the way to peace, and let us say Shalom. And let us say Shalom.
When we share wine together, we remind ourselves that the grape is different everywhere in the world, because it is not simply what the grape brings with it. It is the different soil, the different roots, the different sun, the different exposure that makes it taste different, grow different, and live different. So too with people. We are who we are in our heritage, but we are formed by our environment and our context, our climate, and our community. And so the wine is a symbol for us, even as we connect with it as a symbol of our heritage. This evening, I'll sing our Kiddush in Hebrew. Those who want to join me and know it are welcome to. And then we'll say the English all together. Savri maranan v'rabanan de etmol, kiddashnu et hayayin. Savri maranan v'rabanan de hayom, baruchim borei pri hagafen. HaShabbat mesamchenu, HaShabbat merapenu, legufotenu ulenafshotenu. HaShabbat meashrenu, baruchim hashomrim et yom HaShabbat. In English, the rabbis and sages of old proclaimed, we sanctify this wine. The rabbis and sages of today proclaim, blessed is the fruit of the vine. Shabbat makes us joyful. Shabbat heals us in body and in spirit. Shabbat enriches us. Blessed are those who keep the Shabbat. L'chaim, l'chaim, to life. The new Colossus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gate shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she, with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Sachaki, sachaki al hachalamot, zu ani hacholem sach, sachaki kiva adam amin, ki odeini ma'amin bach, sachaki kiva adam amin, ki odeini ma'amin bach. Laugh at all my dreams, my dearest. Laugh and I repeat anew that I still believe in people as I still believe in you. That I still believe in people as I still believe in you.
With modern Jewish diversity, no one story describes every member of the Jewish family. This is one version of the Jewish American story. Our ancestors traveled to America. The rulers of Europe were often cruel and hateful to the Jews. They drove them from land to land and filled their lives with terror. Our mothers and fathers did not despair. Having heard of a free land across the sea, they pursued their dream. They endured the danger of long voyages and unknown places before they reached their destination. Their exodus from persecution was an epic drama. Never before in the history of our people had so many traveled so far to find liberty. Because of their foresight, we are here tonight to celebrate our freedom in a free land.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
When Jews arrived in America, they found a land of freedom and opportunity. They called it the Goldene Medina, the Golden Land, because here they no longer felt like strangers in a strange land. German Jews proclaimed, "This is our Jerusalem, we need no other." East European Jews declared, "We love our ancient homeland, and now we also love the land of our homes." We learned a new language and felt part of a new culture. Becoming American is like an adoption. We are connected to artificial ancestors and we celebrate experiences we will never have. How many shtetl Jews took pride in the Mayflower Pilgrims? How many Brooklyn Jews really longed for a home on the range? American Jews are American as any other immigrant. The greatest sign of our arrival is our connection with American culture.
This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway and saw above me that endless skyway, and saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, I've followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. Everybody, this land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
This poem was written by me some years ago in response to an appeal for poems about the American dream. As you'll see, sometimes a dream, sometimes worse, sometimes reality, sometimes imagination, but always our experience. Kreplach in a choilem is nit kein kreplach nor a choilem. Dumplings in a dream are not dumplings, but a dream. The American dream is not America, but a dream. Land where my fathers died, not Lithuania, Belarus, Aleppo, Paris, Jerusalem. Real graves are dumplings, the song the dream. We the people, not in a people's history, not powerless people, native people, dark people, women people. Real lives are dumplings, the world, the words, the dream. One nation under God. Whose God? My God? Your God? Why God? Why not in good we trust? Doubts are dumplings, the slogan, the dream. But dreams mean, said Sigmund Gaon of Vilna. 7 fat dumplings eaten by 7 lean. Not fate, maybe future, not reality, changing reality. Some say the American dream is Jewish Hollywood dream. Safe home, blonde wife, 2.2 kids in 2.2 cars. Some say the American dream is American nightmare, built of bodies and blood, screams and silence. Dreams mean. Im tirtzu ein zo agada. If you will it, it is no dream. It is no longer a dream. My fathers died there, but mine will die here, as will my sons. We are the people, a still more perfect union, one nation in diversity, God optional, blended, cross-pollinated, mixed and miscegenated, hybrid vigors fruits from Jewish roots. Dreams become the possible, then possible becomes present. Kreplach in America are both kreplach and dumplings. The American dream is not America, is America, is a dream, is. We are citizens of our native land. We are citizens of the world. The Jewish people are at home in America. Our roots are well planted in our native soil. Yet Jewish roots extend beyond national borders to encompass many corners of the globe. Our connections with all of humanity throw the circle even wider, making every person a part of our family. And we are inextricably bound to the natural world, dependent on and responsible for its well-being. All of our connections make us stronger and more at home than ever. We are citizens of America, and we are citizens of the world. And so we pick up with Hinei Ma Tov on page 10 of the service booklet, the song that celebrates being together.
שבט אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. שבט אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. לה 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 לה, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. שבט אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. שבט אחים גם יחד.
Religion always has a fondness for ancestors. It is that part of patriotism that turns to the past and reveres our roots. Too often this reverence easily becomes worship, changing the stories of our past into myths and the heroes of our past into gods. But when this tribute feels self-control and keeps its respect within the bounds of reason and honest affection, it ceases to be pious and becomes grateful attachment. Communities exist in time as well as in space. America is more than miles of land. It is also years of history. It is more than the needs of the living. It is also the enduring work of the dead. America reaches out in 3 directions. It embraces the present of our living community with gratitude. It touches the future of our descendants with hope. It honors the past of our ancestors, real and adopted, with the pleasure of belonging and the respect of strong commitment. If you're comfortable standing, could I ask you to stand for just a moment? Once each month in our congregation, we share the names of loved ones, the anniversary of whose death or whose yahrzeit occurs in this season. And so tonight we remember with great love Dorothy Bernstein, Joseph Bellotti, Lemuel Cartagena, Stuart Chase, Bernard Cohn, Sylvia Cottle, Bob Davis, Lois Edwards, Gussie Eichner, Stan Friedlander, Audrey Gerson, Judith Horwitz, Larry Jacobs, Clayton Jarris, Kathy Lederer, George Lyshenko, Edna Levine, Max Lubotsky, Sam Merkin, Louise Milstein, Betsy Olson, Michael Pollack, Ida Rothenberg, Harold Rudnick, Nathan Saracen, Joseph Sayeg, Leon Schwartz, Frank Sieber, Saul Simon, Marcia Small, Alberta Stambouli, Anna Tenenbaum, Belle Waldron, and Harvey Wexler. If there are any other names that those here this evening would like to share, please feel free to speak them out loud, or if they're online, to unmute themselves and share those names at this time. Sandy Levy. Let us pause then for a moment of silent tribute in their memory and in memory of all of our loved ones. In Jewish life, we say, Zecher Tzadikim Livracha, the memory of good people blesses us. Please be seated as these words are sung.
Zecher Tzadikim Livracha, Zecher Tzadikim
At this time, I'd like to invite David Hirsch forward to let us know of some upcoming events in the congregation.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom. There's a lot going on. It's a long list and it's incomplete. So please remember that everything is in the Wednesday email at kolhadash.com and in the Shofar newsletter. So the Sunday school Passover Seder is a chocolate Seder. I retired from teaching Sunday school too soon. It's Sunday, this Sunday, the 15th at 10:30. Alana Schaefer is your contact if you want to join them. The Women's Canasta Group meets on Mondays, and they'll be meeting this Monday, the 15th. This Monday, the 16th at noon. And every Monday, my mother in the front row is your contact for that. The Nonfiction Book Club is reading Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. They are meeting on the evening of Monday the 16th at 7:30 on Zoom. Ilya Tallman is your contact, or you can email nonfictionbookclub@kolhadash.com. Our Values and Action Committee has all sorts of stuff going on. They are meeting a week from today, Friday at 2:45 at the Highwood Food Bank at the Fort Sheridan train station. Tony Biotti is your contact for that. On the 20th, a week from today, we are having a Zoom Shabbat service, Theology, Philosophy of Guilt, and Sacrifice. Please don't come here. It's Zoom only. A reminder No Sunday school March 22 or 29. Aw. Our adult education on Tuesdays continues on Tuesday the 31st. The rabbi will be talking about modern literature. Again, don't come here, that's Zoom only. The wonderful Kol Hadash Community Seder will be at Bluegrass Restaurant again on Thursday, April 2nd, 5 to 9. Please register online or see the rabbi for more information. The next adult service like this tonight will be on April 10th at 7:30, Passover Values. The Values and Action Committee is doing our mitzvah morning on April 11th, starting at 10 a.m. to noon. We have a whole list of different projects going. Again, those are in all of the communication, the email, the website, and the shofar. And finally, the Winers are once again doing March Madness in April. And if you haven't done the Winers without the H for the wine club, if you drink wine, if you don't drink wine, it's a lot of fun. And we do this comparing the wines. It's at the Friedlander's house again, and it's phenomenal. Please RSVP Winers, no H, at kolhadash.com. So again, everything is on the website, the Shofar newsletter, and the Wednesday email. So again, Shabbat Shalom, and I return you to your regularly scheduled rabbi.
To my right is our congregational menorah. Its 7 lights remind us of the 7 days of the week, the many strands of our individual lives that come together as one community. We use these candles as a way of celebrating what's happening in our lives, or commemorating, or remembering, or expressing. In the Unitarian tradition, they light candles they call joys and concerns. We've adapted that to Jewish life by calling them simcha and tzuras. Simchas are joys, tzuras is difficulty. It's a chance to light a candle in memory of someone whose life touched yours in a meaningful way, or a candle in concern for someone facing an illness, or perhaps a candle in celebration of something wonderful in your life or the lives of people that you know. So I'd like to take this opportunity to light the first candle. This is in memory of Howard Adler. He lived well into his 90s. He lived a life of joy, a life of family. He got a lot of joy out of a lot of things in life and had a very loving connection with his children and grandchildren. And so when someone makes it to 95 with that kind of a life and dies, is it tzuras? Is it simcha? Well, it's a little bit of both. And so now I'd like to invite you to come forward and to share a reason for lighting a candle, a joy, a concern, a memory. And if you're online, you can always raise your hand and chip in there as well. I see there's one here first, and then we'll get to online as well.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rich Hirsch. Birthdays are important. Certainly the day you are born, and certainly on each anniversary, we acknowledge them, we enjoy them. They're important to ourselves, our friends, our community. But sometimes is a birthday with a round number that's maybe even more important and more meaningful. So I'd like to publicly wish to my very dear friend, a man who has had enormous positive influence on me, Bill Grolnick, a member of our congregation, and we wish you all the best.
Just don't blow it out.
Okay. Bill has to light the candle, but I'm honoring Bill for his 95th birthday, and it's been a wonderful 25 years together. When they say that after 60 you don't find love, it's not true. Bill has been a great inspiration, a great companion, and a very loving person.
March is our birthday month, and Peg's birthday is later this month. We're not under the same astrology sign, but we've managed to stick together. And have great surroundings of not only good friends, but a healthy family of sons and daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, and a grandson, great-grandson. So life is good.
All right, Ron and Tamar, please go ahead.
So first off, I wanted to say that I have really been enjoying listening to Ellen singing. Hearing the music tonight was just really, really good to hear. This is also for kind of a candle of concern for the country, because there's just so much going on, and I don't know where some of it is going to end. And finally, for my best friend who is dealing with a surgery coming up and some other challenges, and she and I share our challenges with each other, and she's a wonderful friend. So I am hoping that things go well for her next week.
Thank you. Anyone else to light? Ellen, go ahead.
Thank you, Tamar. It's nice to be back. I missed it last month. Sorry, everybody, I was sick. I'm lighting this candle. I know several people who are undergoing some health challenges, so I'm just going to lump them all together with one candle. My father-in-law, Don Apley, my sister-in-law, Gail Silberman, and David Harris.
And the other side of that, I'm lighting this candle. I just, before I came here, got off the phone with Diane Gersio, whose husband Frank has had some really severe spinal surgery and is doing better and is able to stand upright and feeling better. And likewise, our other Kol Hadash couple in California, Susan Adelson made a guest appearance at the development committee, and also let us know that Roger had a very serious surgery, and he is home, and he is recovering and getting better. So sending out good health energy to the Gersios in San Diego and to the Adelsons in LA.
If there's no one else. Oh, Terry, did you want to? Please.
I would light a candle in honor of our rabbi, who is always inspiring and who makes me very proud to be a member of our temple. And I want to thank him for tonight. I thought it was really meaningful service for me.
There's a place for us, somewhere a place for us, peace and quiet and open air, wait for us somewhere. There's a time for us, someday a time for us,
One of the candles we did not light tonight is in gratitude for getting lucky. As many of you know, I'm from Michigan originally, and this week there was an incident at a large synagogue there. It's actually the largest Reformed temple, I think, in the world, certainly in the United States. Hosts some 3,300 households that are members. It's called Temple Israel in West Bloomfield. It's about 3 miles from my mom's condo, about 8 miles from the founding Congregation for Humanistic Judaism. And this week, someone decided to take his F-150 truck, appropriate for Detroit, unfortunately, and ram it into the preschool entrance of the building and try to turn down the hall and hit people. He loaded up the truck with fireworks and gasoline to create smoke and fire, and he had a gun. The security guards there acted quickly and stopped him. His vehicle got stuck in the hallway, and he couldn't get out of the vehicle. In the end, it turns out, I just read this afternoon, he shot himself, and that was the end. Now, what's the immigration angle on this story? Well, this man, the perpetrator, was a naturalized U.S. citizen from Lebanon. Last week, in an Israeli air raid against Hezbollah, he lost 2 of his brothers and his niece and nephew. Now, Hezbollah has been shooting rockets at Israel. Israel has been targeting Hezbollah targets. This has happened during the war with Gaza, after the war with Gaza, and now during the war with Iran. Now, his loss does not in any way justify attacking a preschool with a truck and a gun and fireworks to cause a fire, to kill children. More misery will do nothing to bring his family back. And blaming Temple Israel because of its name does not change anything about the state of Israel and what it does in response to rockets. To do so is anti-Semitic and wrong. And as Gandhi supposedly said, but no one can prove, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Now, after this, will all Lebanese immigrants face prejudice because of what this one man did? The same kind of group guilt that he acted on by attacking American Jews? Does this incident challenge or change our perspective on immigration and vetting procedures and even Americanness? Or is his immigrationness not the point, but rather we should focus on his own personal story and his hatred and his choice of violence? There is no one Jewish perspective on anything, because life is complicated, and we look at the same events from many perspectives and values. Israel is fighting Hezbollah and Iran to make itself safer, but in doing so, it can make Jews elsewhere less safe. Some Jews who support immigration to America might not be accepted as Jewish if they try to immigrate to Israel by the Orthodox bureaucrats registering personal status. They say there are 70 faces to the Torah. There are at least that many faces to reality. My family story is a story of immigration. My mother's family came in the early 1900s from Eastern Europe. I was always told from Lithuania and Belarus, but it turns out that Belarus was actually Ukraine because the lines keep moving and nobody really knows. It was all the Russian Empire back then. And they first landed in New York City, but when the influenza epidemic struck, they became internally displaced, we would say now, and moved to Detroit. And that's where my mother was born. My father's family came a little bit later, in the 1910s and 20s. They came from Aleppo, Syria. They are what are called Mizrahi Jews, Middle Eastern Jews. First, his father came in the 19-teens on the Lusitania, of all ships, we found out, thank you, Ancestry.com. And then his mother came some years later. He grew up in the Syrian Jewish community in Brooklyn. Arabic was their home language. His grandmother lived with him and never learned English. But he grew up in that world of the immigrant, where he was fluent in English. Whenever we visited his mother, even in his later years, she would speak to him in Arabic and he would answer in English. So living in both cultures. And many of you have similar stories of parents and grandparents or great-grandparents. They came here seeking freedom, or looking for hope, or for new opportunities, or perhaps fleeing, hoping to find safety from violence and oppression. By and large, they found those things, with some flaws involved. You may have heard the stories, the family legends about names being changed at Ellis Island by the immigration officials. It's actually not true. It turns out that there was a large number of people with stereotypically Jewish names who went to court and changed their names in that period. The people working at Ellis Island were fluent in Yiddish because they had to be. You had to be fluent in multiple languages to work there. So it wasn't a language barrier, it was an expectations barrier. When they came here, it wasn't so great. The streets weren't paved with gold if your name was Goldberg. And so maybe you changed to something else. Tonight is a Refugee Shabbat. It's an initiative sponsored by the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, which was established in 1881 to help Jews coming to the U.S. Today, most of its work is done resettling refugees of all ethnicities and religions. It was a Refugee Shabbat hosted by the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, which infuriated a local white nationalist. He was convinced that Jews were importing non-white immigrants as a great replacement for white America. And so the next week, that man attacked that synagogue and killed 11 people. This week, that same Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, HIAS, released a video statement endorsed by 1,000 rabbis claiming Jewish tradition welcomes immigrants. I'm going to play you that video, and you may find a familiar face.
You shall not wrong or oppress the stranger.
For you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
You shall love each one as yourself.
There should be one law for you and the resident stranger.
Jewish tradition is clear, so too are the lessons of our history.
They call us to uphold the rights of the stranger.
The refugee,
the immigrant,
the asylum seeker.
To be a Jew is to insist on the inherent human dignity of every person.
To be a Jew is to advocate for law.
And to be just, compassionate, and fair.
Cry out.
Cry out when power is wielded with cruelty.
In every generation, the Jewish soul is marked by the memory of migration.
In this moment, that memory calls us to courage.
To reclaim and recenter our moral compass.
To embody the words of our sacred text.
Ger v'toshav anochi imachem. I am a resident and a stranger with you.
Declare to our leaders,
do not wrong.
Do not wrong.
Do not wrong or oppress a stranger.
So that's it, right? Sermon over? It's been proven definitively. Jewish sources, Jewish tradition, Jewish history, all those rabbis tell us that Judaism as a whole endorses compassionate and welcoming treatment of the stranger, the refugee, the immigrant. Well, despite my participation in that video, and they didn't let me add footnotes or caveats to the text, it's not that simple. Don't forget, Stephen Miller is also Jewish. He had a bar mitzvah, he had a confirmation, he identifies as Jewish today, he married someone Jewish. That is also Judaism. He is also Jewish. Recall that for most of Jewish history, Jews were the migrants and the immigrants. We were the guests under other people's sovereignty. When Jewish meant Judean, and we had our own territory, there are suggestions that even back then there was some acceptance of diversity, when we did have the power of managing the immigrant. If you read the laws of Passover, there are provisions that the stranger had to observe the rules of matzah and no leavening during that week of Passover. What that proves is that there was one law for everybody, but it also proves there were strangers there who were expected to uphold the national observances. Many of the Torah laws express concern and care for the stranger. The Hebrew word is ger. We'll come back to that in a bit. The stranger, the ger, was thought to be weak and deserving protection, in the same category as the poor and the widow and the orphan. If you're gleaning wheat fields for the wheat that has fallen, if you are demanding equal treatment under the law, you are explicitly prohibited from oppressing the ger, the stranger. In the saga of King David, the episode with Bathsheba, where the army is out fighting and David is home in Jerusalem and sees a beautiful woman and wants to take her for himself, and then she becomes pregnant, but of course her husband is away fighting like all good husbands should be. They bring him back, and David tries to get him to sleep with his wife, to spend the night there. He refuses. He said, my fellow soldiers are in the fields. He sleeps at his doorstep. He refuses to enjoy his wife. This man's name is Uriah the Hittite. He's a Hittite. He's from a kingdom in Turkey, thousands of miles away from the land of Israel. But he is a model and loyal soldier. He is betrayed by King David because David sends him back to the front to be killed, to clear the way for David to take his wife. But clearly, again, reading between the lines, Uriah the Hittite had no problem marrying Bathsheba, living in Jerusalem, serving in the king's army. We just recently observed Purim. I heard a few boos at a certain point. It's a carryover from that. Purim is an example of Jews living as immigrants in the Persian Empire. It's a sometimes precarious and dangerous position, but also it offers opportunities to be successful, to be integrated. You even find that in the names of the characters, because Esther has a Hebrew name, Hadassah, separate from her daily name in the street. She is both Persian culturally and Jewish by identity. Now, there's also a dark side to this period, to these foundational texts. When the Hebrews are about to conquer the land of Israel in the book of Deuteronomy, they are told to expel several nations that are already in the land. The Hebrews are the immigrants coming in, but they are to kick out other peoples at the time of Joshua's conquest. In Deuteronomy chapter 20, we read, "In the towns of these other peoples, which Yahveh your God is giving you as a heritage, you will not let a soul remain alive. You must utterly destroy them. Amorites and Canaanites and Perizzites, Hivites and Jebusites, and the Hittites," those same Hittites, "as Yahveh your God has commanded you to do." Why? "Lest they lead you into doing all the terrible things they have done for their gods, and you be guilty before Yahveh your God." You get to wipe them out so they don't tempt you to do what Yahveh doesn't want you to do. Or consider the book of Ezra, where the Hebrews are returning from a Babylonian exile, where they've managed to maintain their identity as Jewish, Judean, when not in Judea. When they return, the priests tell the people who stayed in the land, "Expel your foreign wives. You've polluted the holy seed." You hear this ethno-religious identity, holy seed, holiness and biology. It's a toxic mix even then, breaking up families and communities. Now, it may be the case that another book was written around the same time as the book of Ezra, called the book of Ruth, as a kind of countertext. Because what happens in the book of Ruth? Ruth is a Moabite. She is one of the forbidden nations you're never supposed to make a deal with, at least not for several generations. And yet she marries into a Judean family. She goes back with her mother-in-law after all the men die, and yet she's accepted as part of the community. She is an exemplary person, and she ultimately becomes the great-grandmother of King David. So maybe that's a countertext to the Ezra that says, "Send away your foreign wives." Ruth says, "You want a foreign wife because look what happened." And then we come back to the word ger. Ger, which I translated as stranger, comes from the root to live, to reside. It's like a resident alien, almost like the ancient equivalent of a green card. But in rabbinic thought, as rabbis went back into the text and commented and interpreted and modified and adapted, they decided that ger meant convert. Ger is the person who has joined our community and is a resident alien here. They've become one of us. So it's actually the opposite of stranger. Instead of offering all these charities and this concern and this care for the outsider, now it's someone who's come from the outside but is now on the inside. It's made a universal ethic much more parochial. That too is Judaism. Now, after Jewish dispersion from the land of Israel, we had centuries of experience as a stubbornly different minority. We insisted on staying separate. Sometimes we were oppressed, sometimes we were tolerated with varying degrees of restriction. But what we hoped above all was to be accepted as immigrants who could finally stay put. You know, the wandering Jews just wanted to stay. They didn't want to wander, they wanted to stay. And sometimes they could. The descendants of that first Babylonian exile were able to stay in what became Iraq for over 2,500 years. The Jews living in Krakow, Poland, arrived in the 1200s, and they were there for almost 700 years until the Holocaust. Now, at that time, we didn't have the power to control other immigrants. We didn't own the territory. We couldn't even own land. And at the time, it was dangerous, even illegal in some places, to accept converts. If you call those the Gerim, the immigrants to Judaism. In Christian Europe, it was almost impossible. In Muslim countries, it was illegal under Muslim law. Jews were often one of many minorities, especially in the Muslim world. It was a portable culture that we had. If we were expelled from Spain, we would be welcomed in by the Ottoman Empire and kept that medieval Spanish language that became Ladino. We even kept the names of our synagogues after the towns we came from in Spain. The Jews in Europe who lived along the Rhine Valley were pushed east by the Black Death. They were welcomed by the Polish and Lithuanian Empire, and they brought with them their medieval German they wrote in Hebrew letters that became Yiddish. It was not always easy to find a welcome, and sometimes that welcome could be rescinded. After all, the Reformation didn't do wonders for the Jews because Martin Luther didn't like them. Or there was the case of the Jews who had fled the Inquisition in Spain and Portugal, had managed to make their way to a Portuguese colony in Brazil called Recife. And then, in the 1560s, Recife was conquered by the Dutch. Now, what was great about the Dutch was that they were Protestant. They weren't the Inquisition. And so finally, these Jews who had been hiding as crypto-Jews, as hidden Jews, could come out of the closet, literally, with their candles, and they could light them in public. Until, in 1654, guess who came back? The Portuguese, and with them, the Inquisition. Well, now, these Jews are in trouble, because they've admitted they were lying. They no longer have a home in Recife. And so they flee. They get on a boat, and they travel north to another Dutch colony called New Amsterdam, later to be known as New York. Right. So the first Jews in America start in what would become New York, but even getting there is not so easy. 23 Jews arrive on a ship, and the governor of New Amsterdam, before he started a high school, was Peter Stuyvesant. Peter Stuyvesant said, "I don't want these Jews here." So he wrote back to the Dutch East India Company, and he asked them, "What do I do with these people?" Now here's where it helps to know somebody. Some of the larger stockholders in the Dutch East India Corporation were Dutch Jews. And so they told Peter Stuyvesant the equivalent of stifle. Let them stay. And they did. That's the beginning of Jews in America. It was an immigration experience that failed, that ultimately became a success. These memories of the Jewish refugee experience through the centuries informed Emma Lazarus, the Sephardic American Jew. Her mother's side was German Jewish, her father's side was Portuguese Jewish, and they claimed descent from those original 23 Jews from Recife. She wrote a poem in the 1880s in response to the waves of European immigration that had begun, mostly from Eastern Europe. There were some 3 million Jews from Eastern Europe that made their way to America between 1880 and 1924. They fled pogroms, they fled poverty. It includes my ancestors, it may include some of your ancestors too. Hers was a Jewish voice that articulated the American ideal of openness to immigration, open to the huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Now, today in America, we hear conflicting voices. Some want to keep that door open. Others are closing those doors out of racial prejudice or claims of preserving our culture. And the dilemma is, even if it's exaggerated, even if it comes from a place of prejudice, there is a kernel of truth that immigrants sometimes bring their own values and yes, prejudices with them. The man who committed this atrocity in West Bloomfield is from a place called Dearborn Heights, very close to a town called Dearborn, which is majority Lebanese and majority Muslim, and wonderful Middle Eastern food, by the way. If you go to Detroit, you have to go to Dearborn to eat. But in Dearborn, the city council voted overwhelmingly to take down all pride flags, to take anything LGBTQ related out of schools, because that conservative old world religious value rejects those identities. Now we know that the generation born here, the second generation, is often more acclimated to American values, to tolerance, to diversity. We've seen that in studies on anti-Semitism and many other hatreds, that the next generation maybe gets over what the old generation brings with them. But this is our challenge, you see. When we look at reality, there are these kernels that can lead to prejudice, but also lead to challenges in how we find people and help them become American. Are Jewish values represented by the Torah welcoming the stranger with dignity, or by the State of Israel's response to the Sudanese refugees that managed to make their way there, or the migrant workers that are treated poorly? There's no surprise. The answer is yes, they're both Jewish. As humanistic Jews, we approach our inheritance with the power of choice. We can choose what is most meaningful to us from our past and our present, from our people and our values. And if we're going to make a choice of the Jewish tradition on immigration, let us choose to lift our lamp beside the golden door. Once again, I want to thank you for coming to our Shabbat service. Thank our musicians as well. Our closing song is on the last page of your service. It is a song of celebration that has become an American anthem. The nice part about being in Jewish life is that we know more words than just Hava Nagila, blah, 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 blah. We can actually sing all the words together. And there's also a wonderful documentary about Hava Nagila where they ask people, what is it about? And everyone says, I don't know, but I like it. And it's Jewish, and it makes me feel good. So hopefully it has that effect on you as well. Please feel free to join us in singing Hava Nagila.
I think so.
Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila Venismacha. Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila Venismacha. Hava Naranana, Hava Naranana, Hava Naranana Venismacha. Hava Naranana, Hava Naranana, Hava Naranana Venismacha. Uru, Uru Achim, Urachim Belev Sameach, Urachim Belev Sameach, Urachim Belev Sameach, Urachim Belev Sameach, Urachim, Urachim Belev Sameach. Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila Venismacha. Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila Venismacha.
Once again, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom. Please wish Shabbat Shalom to the people near you. And Shabbat Shalom to all those online.